Listen and subscribe to the Table of Truth on iTunes, Spotify, Stitcher, and Google Podcasts. Welcome everybody to Blerdlines. This is your man Cam. With me as always is
the other killer Cam Squared,
as well as
the man they call Josh.
And always blessing us with his presence.
It's me. It's D, the cynical one.
And we are here. A slew of trailers just dropped, and we watched them all. We all got comments on them. We're semi-hype about them. I want to say middle to excited to not at all. It's a nice gambit of up. But we'll talk. We'll go through them. The first one we're gonna dive up though is first one's gonna be Blue Beetle. This is the last of DC's superhero movies that they had before the gun takeover, and actually it was pretty freaking cool. Shout out to my man from Cobra Kai. He's looking like he's doing a good job. But yeah, Blue Beetle it looked cool. I was like pleasantly surprised.
Is that the guy that's in the lead that's playing Jaime Reyes?
Yeah. He's from Cobra Kai fame. But yeah, it looked like all the same trappings of the origin story, wacky family, sidekick, big bad,
Wait, who was the dad or the
George Lopez?
Okay, that's what I was like. All right.
Yeah, George Lopez got the female sidekick, slight love interest, maybe not type thing. It had a similar vibe to Shang-Chi to me, actually.
Mm-hmm.
Like just from the trailer. But dude, the Beetle looked amazing in terms of costuming and all that.
Yeah.
I do agree with D though. I think I'm so partial to Young Justice Blue Beetle and the voice because he's so homicidal.
Yeah. I didn't like I not dislike it, but when I saw it, I heard or I thought I was gonna hear the Young Justice voice, and when it was kind of very mellow and very kind of sound almost nice, the Beetle does in the movie, I was like, oh well, it looks cool, but no, it does look good. I mean, look, the design looks cool and looks like it's got a the story of his. It looks like a solid origin story. That's what I'm trying to go for. We don't see those that often anymore. And rightfully so. Some stories are better where you just drop us in the middle of it, like the Batman. But this is one that I think needs an origin story because not many people know Blue Beetle. And if it is successful, I'm hoping that the gun continues the story because Blue Beetle is one of those DC characters that I feel like could be a big deal, maybe not. It could be the Ant-Man of the DC, world, but the character itself is way more powerful. But there's some interesting things that can come from having that character in the grand scheme of things.
Yeah, definitely, and also I think this was kind of disconnected from was it DCEU, whatever, when it was made, and so. Because it didn't have anything heavily tied to it, no cameo, or as of now, no cameos, whatever. So there's a talk of being well, this could be they could easily slot this into what Gunn is already doing, which is cool. And also and I think DC kind of needed something like this. They needed an Ant-Man or a Guardians of the Galaxy where they're hey, here's a character you guys don't know. We're gonna do a good story about it, and let's see what happens. And it's Latino director, Latino cast, Latino written, They're not trying to screw this up.
I would also add this is it's kind of the same vein of what Gunn has done with Guardians of the Galaxy, but the thing about Blue Beetle is there could be some potential familiarity with the character based off the animation, whereas the Guardians of the Galaxy were more cameo appearances in the animation. There wasn't unless you followed the comics, there wasn't no solid story. I'm familiar with Blue Beetle, and I'm not quote unquote familiar with Blue Beetle. But because I watched Young Justice, I know who the
Yep.
character is. You know, I know the kind of the origin story. So it's not totally foreign to me. Where when Guardians of the Galaxy came out, I was like, "Whoa, who are these?" And then when I went back, I was like, "Oh yeah, they did make a slight cameo in this episode of this animation I watched." But in all, I think the trailer did what it was supposed to do. Piqued my curiosity. Didn't reveal too much. It looked solid. It didn't try to outdo itself. It didn't try to be something that it wasn't. I think that bodes well. But again, if the movie sucks, the trailer did its job. It got me to go want to watch it. You know,
Yep.
like,
Yeah.
and that's the job of a trailer. And I think and what Cam said earlier, that it's kind of like it's the old DCEU, but it's kind of like not connected, which gives it some leeway. So if this does well, Gunn gets his hands on it and be like, all right, we can incorporate this story, unlike Black Adam,
Absolutely.
where it just bombed. Because it was kind of like, in my opinion, they were kind of seeing what Black Adam would do. You know,
Yeah.
Black Adam didn't do much. So it was like, all right, we can scrap this. Blue Beetle kind of in the same boat. We'll see what Blue Beetle does. It's kind of generating some buzz. I kind of watched it. I was like, yeah, this is not bad. I actually kind of dig this trailer. So kudos to whoever cut that trailer up.
Yeah, and I'm sure that they Gunn watched Black Adam and he knew before it was released. He was like, yeah, this one ain't gonna make it into the day. But yeah, like it looks like it separated itself in a way that some of the lingering films probably can't, just because they were already intrinsically tied to the DCEU. I haven't seen Shazam. I don't even remember what the
Fury of the Gods.
Yeah, that I haven't seen that movie, and I don't plan on seeing it. But I can imagine that even that movie is like, okay, we did it, it's done, we're moving on. If Shazam is one day again in DC's feature films, it won't be this version of the character.
So
Maybe.
I think Shazam suffered from all the things that wound up torpedoing it before it came out. I think it's at least as good as the first one. If you liked the first one, or if you thought it was okay, whatever you thought of the first one, you're probably going to think of that of the second one. It doesn't really ramp up much in the way. I mean, it digs into the lore of Captain Marvel / Shazam a little bit more. And I mean, Helen Mirren is in it, and Helen Mirren is perfect in all things. Let's just call that what it is. I haven't seen her in a bad film ever. And she's great in this. She elevates the movie and takes the role for her first superhero film, and probably her only. She takes it very seriously. I was pleasantly surprised. But to Blue Beetle, I mean, I don't know. At the end of the day, if they do better than what they did with Blue Beetle in Smallville, I think we're okay. That was wow. If you have not seen it, I will send you all the clip. Oh man,
Smallville was a lot of misses with a lot of characters. They had a lot of different DC named hitters in there that they just kind of, even worse than Arrowverse. And you know how I feel about the Arrowverse. The Arrowverse got a lot of
started right wrong.
The Arrowverse got a lot more right than they did.
Yes,
they got a good amount of things right, more than wrong. You know, Batman version of Green Arrow, you guys co-sign. I say no way. But you know, again, going back to Blue Beetle, it looks like it has potential.
Yeah. I think that's all you need. That's all you need at this point.
Yeah, I feel like whereas Smallville was bad out the gate, in my opinion, I feel like at least Arrowverse tried at the beginning of all of their shows.
Yeah.
And then, after 2 seasons,
yeah. Think about the game strong 1 season, and then 2 starts to linger by then.
Yep.
Yeah. You know, and I again, I told you guys, I never watched Arrow because personally, I like Batman too much.
Hey, I'm gonna say I did not co-sign anything. That was them two, the other guys. Second of all, And Helen Mirren did play in a comic book movie called Red.
Oh yeah, that's true.
Oh, true.
Yep. Two, they did 2 movies.
Well, a superhero.
Oh, yeah, I was
Yeah.
going to say to that point, superhero.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I like Red. I actually like both of them. They're fun.
Yeah, Red was great. Yeah.
Yeah, play some fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I think overall, I think Blue Beetle's in a nice little spot where they're, again, it's, Latino led film, cast, directed, starring, writing. I don't think it's for everybody white dude, but yeah, we can do. But it looks like they're hitting on all the cylinders to make sure that this is solid. And so, like just like Cam said, he didn't really know nothing, but he knew of Blue Beetle from other things. He watched the trailer. All right, now I'm interested in maybe seeing it, and that's all. Pretty much, the trailer is really supposed to be equal.
Yep. Exactly.
That leads us to Secret Invasion, which did anyone ask for a Secret Invasion TV show? No. Are we getting one? I guess. Is it gonna be good? Maybe.
Let me hear
to the Marvel the Marvel professors on the which is Josh and Cam. You guys tell me this. Is Secret Invasion, is that storyline in the comic book, what's the scale of it? Is it supposed to be like this epic thing that's happening, or is it supposed to feel like something that can be wrapped up in a few episodes?
It's line wide, and it's supposed to be pretty. I mean, Cam knows it better than I do, but as far as I recall, it was line wide. Like every comic book had a Secret Invasion tie-in, and there was the main line. You know what they do? They try to spread everything across. Try to include as many books as they can, and then have like the mainline books to sell the main story. And the way they sort of do it now is not like Secret Wars, where Secret Wars was its own self-contained thing, and then it had like things that dipped in and out of it. This was
all inclusive.
Yeah, this was all inclusive. Every book.
And the way they did it was, and I hate crossovers to begin with, but this one was interesting because you wanted to read the other books because you wanted to figure out who was a Skrull.
Right.
So it touched all of Marvel because it was like, hey, Skrulls came in, scooped up a bunch of heroes, and then replaced them with Skrulls. But you didn't know who was who and who was what. So then as you're going through the story, you started to find out, hey, this person's a Skrull, this person's not. I thought this person was a Skrull. And you started to figure out who is actually got replaced. And so it all starts with, I think it was Spider-Woman gets killed and is actually like a Skrull. And that's what kickstarts the whole thing. So they're trying to basically figure out who's a real person. And then about halfway through the story, you see the heroes waking up in space, and then you start to find out, that person's really a Skrull. And then you start to go put those pieces together. So it was cool because it was galactic and it had a good like overall, and it was done in a smart way. Where now watching what they're doing on the TV show, it's actually smart to do it this way as like, more of a clandestine type of thing. Nick Fury's involved. He, conspiracy, blah, blah, blah. I think that's cool. For how they've done the Skrulls in MCU, I think this is not a bad way to do it because they kind of made them these like refugees type situations in Captain Marvel, which was stupid, but whatever. So at least doing it this way scales it down, but kind of makes it kind of decent. So it makes it more almost like Attack of the Body Snatchers, if anything.
So I'm wondering if because I would think that at this point the Marvel would begin to put their storytelling on the path towards the big event, which would be Kang Dynasty. Yep. So I'm wondering if one of Kang's variants, this has nothing to do with the trailer, but I'm wondering if one of Kang's variants will be involved in this storyline in some way or form. Because I also read that, and I can't even remember where I read this, but there was that they believe that there may have been a hint of potentially Dr. Doom being introduced in Secret Wars, and for the MCU, or at least the and obviously wouldn't be introduced as Dr. Doom, but probably Victor Von Doom or whatever. Yeah.
Yep.
But I read that that the trailer indicated that this person that wrote this, that the trailer indicated to them that there was some hints of Doctor Doom. Did you guys see any of that? Because I wouldn't know if I saw it.
No.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't really see it. I mean,
Yeah.
I think Fantastic Four is gonna happen sometime in the next 3 years. Doctor Doom's more than likely going to be a central part of that, whether in the first one or the second. Sorry, but yeah, I'm actually kind of curious because I mean, one, Secret Invasion gives Don Cheadle something to do. It gives Fake Coulson something to do. It gives Maria Hill something to do. It gives basically everyone that is in the Shield that had nothing to do. It gives them something to do.
And it introduces my girl. It introduces my girl Abigail Brand. I'm so stoked.
And that part actually is the kind of the cool part. That's probably the only thing I really am like anticipating about.
Now, who's going to be Abigail Brand?
Emilia Clarke. Your girl.
I thought her name was something else, and she had a scroll name.
Yeah, she has a scroll name, and then she has the I'm gonna double check it real quick.
Abigail Brand.
Let me double check.
Her name on the cast is Gia or something like that. She's a scroll.
So the rumors are not true.
Let me ask this too to the panel. So I totally forgot about the Kang Dynasty and how big a deal that's supposed to be. But then the Secret Invasion is a big deal. Like, can Marvel harness two big deal storylines that take time to develop? Because Secret Invasion ain't no small story, man. That's like a big,
yeah. And I think that's the thing. I think they're shrinking it down. Well, I take this back. I think in the show they're shrinking it down. It has the potential to land other places. So if they do it in a way that would work, and this is something that probably would actually be fun, is they could do that. Like, they could make it a way where Secret Invasion, the show, starts the rest of it, right? Nick Fury handles whatever threat this is, but then we find out there's other people that are now, like Captain America's back, but it's a scroll, or da-da-da. Like, it would make some, like, if they did that, that would actually be cool, and that would actually, like, expand the size of it. I'm curious to see how they're going to rock this out. But I do like that they're finally giving all the SHIELD agents something to do, like Maria Hill. She's just been chilling for like 15 years, hanging out. Like, do something with her. Like, she's actually good at Kobe Smulders is actually really good at action. Like, that was in Jack Reacher too. She was actually pretty dope in that. So at least they give her something to do. But I'm more curious to see how is this gonna affect the rest of it? Because like you said, you have Kang Dynasty, and then you have the Secret Invasion, and Secret Invasion is pretty much a massive story that seems like they're trying to cut down and maybe like put trickles other places. And then Kang Dynasty has already got kickstarted. So I'm curious to see how these two are gonna intertwine.
And what's the second? It's Kang Dynasty, and then there was another Avengers movie. Is it War? Not what it is? Secret War.
Yeah, Secret War.
Maybe Secret Invasion is sort of a prelude to Secret War or something, but Secret War has something to do with Kang, right? Is that still connected to Kang? Or I guess we won't know.
Yeah, I mean, and that's the thing I was like a little annoyed about when they were like announcing all this crap, because it's like you're basically announcing movies for these like huge, massive like storylines in the comics, and so like, how are you gonna adapt that to something like this? And some of it you can't, some of it you can, some of it you can just take slivers of. Like Secret Wars is actually a pretty cool sliver story. Like, it's taking a handful of characters, putting them on a planet, have them fight against each other, and the Beyonders laughing at them all. It's a simple story. It's pretty to the point, but they've metastasized it to all these crazy things that I'm curious to see how they're going to do it. So I think for Secret Invasion by itself, it could be interesting. I think to me, it's just more of a SHIELD movie, and I hope they keep it that way and it doesn't get too fantastical. So at least you can use all the SHIELD people, scrolls and whatnot, and then kind of go from there. And then, but yeah, everything else, how it's going to connect to everything else, no idea. None.
I mean, I hope that in the best of circumstances, it gives Nick Fury something to do. Like you said, it gives former SHIELD agents something to do, and makes them relevant again, which I think was in my opinion, a huge misstep for Marvel, from the MCU standpoint.
Yeah, can we talk about how they ruined Shield?
Oh man,
How they
Even in even in the comic books, all this time later, when Shield pulls up, it's a big deal. You know what I mean? Whether you like the storyline or not, at the end of the day, like when Civil War happened, the Shield got involved, big deal. To me, it always broadens the scope of what's going on in a much larger way. And I think I personally missed that about having Shield involved in the MCU. That said, I think, a smaller story where it's Nick Fury running around doing spy stuff, figuring out who's a Skrull and who's not. I mean, I think it could work, but I think it's unfortunate that they're reducing the scale. Like Cam was saying, how I was asking how big it was. It was huge. It was huge. Like, you had like Captain Marvel taking on a battalion of Super Skrulls with like 4 different power sets per Skrull, in addition to being able to change their identity, their shape or whatever.
And also too, what they did was in the Secret Invasion in the books, they established that some of these characters had been gone for 2 years.
Right.
So then as you started to piece together, you're like, oh snaps! You go back, that was actually a Skrull from 2 years ago all the way up to now, and they did a good job of tying those threads. So there's whole sections where one character was doing a bunch of stuff for 2 years, but that wasn't them; it was the Skrull. And then when this character comes back, they have conflict.
They sort of tie it together because 2 years ago you actually were getting hints that something was up, and you didn't know what it was or why. Someone would say something, like have a side conversation with someone that they were having, and it's like, wow, that's a weird thing to say. And it didn't make any sense. There was no context whatsoever. Come to find out, when you go back to that book, or, a year later, you see the same conversation being had with the person on the other end, and the other person on the other end is a Skrull or something like that. It all made sense eventually, but they gave you breadcrumbs, like Cam was saying, the date 2 years back. You just didn't know what the hell was going on.
Yo, D, also, you were wondering if Kang is a Skrull. There is a Easter egg at the end of the Ant-Man that you see a Skrull Kang near the end of the
Yeah.
Well, no, I wasn't wondering who the Skrull. I was wondering if he's sort of the big bad of this era of Marvel. How does he factor into Secret Wars if we're indeed arcing this entire, if the phases are still have a ongoing arc, right? So we can say that the Infinity Saga has an ongoing arc from the very first Avengers movie, because even before that, because the Infinity Stones were MacGuffins early on in each movie, but because they didn't know what was going on, and the first Avengers movie pulled back the curtain, is like, oh, that's why we've been seeing Infinity Stones, because Thanos is after him, and obviously if you've read the comics, where we're going, and the whole reference to court and death and all of that stuff.
Yeah, it's gonna be interesting. I mean, I'm looking it up right now. So Kang Dynasty is actually is basically the part 1, and Secret War is gonna be the part 2 of the Avengers movie, essentially. 20 coming out 25 and 26. So yeah, I don't know, man.
Love still attached as the writer?
Sadly, he is. Sadly, he is.
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. I agree with you on that one, Barrett.
We have nothing to look forward to.
Yeah.
Well, to be fair,
go ahead.
I who wrote Mortal Kombat also wrote Shang-Chi, and Shang-Chi was actually a really good movie.
Hey, I like the original Mortal Kombat for what it was.
The original
Mortal
Kombat.
How about the reboot?
Oh, never mind.
The most recent one that came out like a year ago, 2 years ago.
Yeah, that
fun.
I'm not. I'm gonna say apples and oranges. We'll see what happens. I have no optimistic view or of that.
Never have an optimistic view, but
That's
for me. Why do you say it's apples and oranges? Why? How am I misapplying?
Well, no, I'm kind of just jabbing at you. It's not real apples and oranges. It's just. I don't know what circumstances, bro. No. Honestly, you think higher of Shang-Chi than I do. I don't think it.
I'm just saying that it wasn't as bad as the Mortal Kombat.
Absolutely wasn't as bad as Mortal Kombat.
Leaps and bounds better.
But that was probably studio interference. We don't know if with Mortal Kombat. We don't know if I doubt that that's the case with Loveless and his
Well, also it's interesting because Loveless is going to be writing it, and then the dude that directed Shang-Chi is going to be directing it. So,
God, see, I don't know if I trust that, man. Like, I don't. I'm sorry, I don't listen.
So not to get off tangent, but Shang-Chi was.
That's what I'm.
I'm not saying it was War and Peace. I'm just saying it was better than Mortal Kombat.
Oh, absolutely.
I
100% agree with that. By a mile, it was better than Mortal.
Yeah, that's all I was saying. I'm not saying it was like, one of the greatest MCU movies of all time. It was okay.
Yeah, but I still stick to this. I'm hoping that there's a change in that writing contingent.
Yeah.
Before that, because he couldn't even write Kang as a appearing villain in another movie. Like, it's Kang is the big bad. How does Ant-Man defeat anyway?
Let's move on to we just had Star Wars Day, which is weird because it was early. I thought it was May the 4th, but they did it a little bit. What happened? That was kind of weird to me. So Star Wars Day come out, a bunch of news came through, but on top of that, we got an Ahsoka trailer, and watching it had some familiar faces from Rebels. It had some interesting little tidbits in there, but it had Rosario Dawson as the main character, of course. She was debuted in Mando, and so
if she plays a really older, mature Ahsoka,
she does a good job.
A lot of people were like, "Oh, they should have got the actress that voiced her," and it's like, well, maybe, but at the same time,
like 100 years old now.
That's what I'm saying. She's playing Ahsoka at a different stage in her life,
right?
Yeah.
And I think Rosario did a great job of showing a more refined, mature, and perfectly comfortable exiled, outcasted Jedi.
Yeah, totally.
She went through some battles, man. She is important. She is kind of like, in a sense, Obi-Wan. Where, she went through some war. She's been
a smarter Obi-Wan, because she left of her own accord. They were like, "Oh, we're sorry. We accused you of, of breaking the code and doing all these things." And she was like, "You know what?"
She basically saw the BS early on and was like, "This ain't it."
She was like, exactly right. And I think that's what she saw some of the same things that Qui-Gon Jinn saw before he died, and Jedi and
Dooku saw the same stuff.
But Dooku also had his own. If you read the Darth Plagueis novel, you'll find out that Palpatine had already started courting Dooku way before he, even in the events of the Phantom Menace, he had met Dooku, and he knew that he needed his money and his resources, because Dooku as a whole was a count. The dude's family was like
loaded.
The rulers of a whole planet, and so. And in that same, that's how the separatists, he got all the separatists, because Dooku's family influence, pulled them from the Republic. But the trailer looks good. I think we saw it was. Speaking of the construction of the trailer, I think it did a good job of teasing, but not telling us all of what was to expect. We got a nice behind the over the shoulder shot of somebody that Josh has been wanting to see on screen for so long. I know he got so excited he couldn't help himself. That blue mania, you know his name?
Oh,
Green Admiral Thrawn.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And they actually just they just announced that the guy, the magnificent actor that voiced him in Rebels will now be his live action Lars Milkinson, I think is his name.
Yes, sir.
Be his and Cam, you might recognize him. He was the guy that played Strigobor in the Witcher. He was the sorcerer that wanted to kill all the girls, lock them up, and because of he had born on the Falcas, whatever, the Black Moon or whatever. So he's gonna be Grand Admiral Thrawn in Clone Wars.
Yeah, nah, they did a good job.
I mean, not Clone Wars, excuse me, Ahsoka.
Yeah.
So Thrawn is returning, which also obviously means for those of us who've seen Rebels that a certain Jedi should be returning as well.
It's Potter. Well, also that certain Jedi was referenced in either Mando or Obi-Wan.
I think it was
The whales.
Which one was it? Was it Mando or Obi-Wan?
That's a good question. I know what you're talking about, though.
I think it was
That's definitely good.
I think it was Obi-Wan.
Mm.
No,
it was
it
Mando.
was Mando.
Yeah, because the whales, blue whales.
Because that's what we thought. Remember, we thought that
Okay, there's a scene.
Yeah.
Not to cut you off. There's a scene in Mando where he jumps to light speed, and Baby Yoda, I keep calling Baby Grogu, sees the space whale, the light speed space whales. One of them passing by in light speed is Mando. Sorry, I took so long.
And that was this season, actually.
Yep.
That's this season, yes. I don't want to say it's the first episode of this season.
First or second episode. Yeah. And yep. So I don't know why I just missed that one because I just saw that. Yeah.
Shout out to Brett.
And I am hyped. I have been wanting an on-screen live action Grand Admiral Thrawn for probably 30 years now. For those of you who do not know, they derived that character from the Heir to the Empire book series, the one that basically jump-started the novelization of Star Wars.
Yeah.
And man, is that those three books are a doozy. The people were basically just going to George Lucas with the three books, like just begging him, just do this, just make these movies, it'll be fine. You make those movies, it'll be great. It is, to this day, it is the standard bearer for incredible Star Wars novelization.
Now, I will say this.
Say again?
I will say this: when Josh is hyped about something, you're going to get a biased opinion about it.
But I'm not wrong. This is not objective. This is like everybody thinks this.
Now, and Thrawn, and to the point, Thrawn is a cool character that, for the people that didn't read books, that got introduced to him in the Rebels, was definitely a good big bad.
No, yeah, Thrawn is dope. Good strategist, good fighter, all around bad.
Great background and more proof of why the writers of the Disney era has not gone far enough into the galaxy far away, because Ron isn't even, he's from a place that is not even explored, other than the fact that his presence is there, because in terms of where he comes from, there's no other tribe yet, other alien, no other sentient race in the larger Star Wars galaxy of his tribe other than him. So he's a very, very interesting, one of the few, like, he's one of those interesting villains that's not corny in Star Wars, other than, like when General Grievous appeared, you kind of like this guy is like kind of kind of cool, but he's like a corny gimmick, right?
Yeah.
But Thrawn is totally on the level of a Grand Moff Tarkin, or
He's literally
Vader.
he was literally the guy for the Emperor, and there was no other rank. So the way the story went in the books, I don't think they ever delved into that in any of the television shows. But so the rank of Grand Admiral is a 1 of 1. He's the only person to ever achieve that rank, and he and basically it was like there was nothing else that they could give him. Like, he had basically risen through the ranks of the Empire so quickly and so high, and he's the only alien. Like, they don't really touch on this too tough in other media that you see, but the Empire is racist as hell. Like, they don't, if you notice,
very xenophobic. Yeah, very
for the
xenophobic.
most part.
Yeah,
They're
most
very
of the leadership were human and white. Well,
Yep.
white male humans.
Yeah, they're very, very anti.
And also, his backstory is so good because of the explanation given as to why we never saw him during the rebellion. During that period. And so I don't know if they probably will talk about that, because that's such a cool factor. Like, this guy, because the first thing is so nice. Well, why isn't Grand Admiral Thrawn present during any of that time? Well, 2 reasons. One, Vader was alive and he was present, and that was enough. The Emperor had Vader, and usually Vader and Tarkin were enough for the Emperor to and of course Palpatine himself. So Thrawn was sent to, wasn't it the Josh?
He was
explaining it better.
It was basically sent once he achieved the rank of Grand Admiral. Palpatine, like you say, he had Vader, he had Grand Moff Tarkin, and he basically was like, "Listen, I want you to go out and plant the flag of the Empire in the outer regions." And so he sends him off to the not the outer regions, sorry, the unknown regions. And well past the outer rim, he goes, plants the flag, subjugates a bunch of planets in the name of the Empire, comes back just after was 10 years after the Return of the Jedi. 10 years after the Return of the Jedi, he comes back to find the Emperor's dead, Vader's dead, and the Empire has basically been dissolved. Mm-hmm. And so he's like, "What in the hell?" And so he slowly but surely gathers the remains of the Empire, of the Imperial forces under his banner. And long story short, he comes within an inch of retaking it all in the books. And I mean an inch. It's like up to the end of that last book, you're despairing on whether or not this is going to be a reversion to the Empire, because he comes that close.
And if they actually adapt even most of that it would make sense. Oh, and it would unfortunately tie it to the ones after. But I think also the cool thing is, I was reading up on it, because one of the things I noticed is when Disney took over for Star Wars, they've made a bunch of comic books, and most of those comics are actually pretty solid. The Star Wars main book is actually really good. Each book, volume of the book starts right after the movies. So A New Hope, and that's when the book, right when it ends, that's when that book starts, and it fills in the gap between A New Hope and Empire Strikes Back. And then also they have a Vader book, which is amazing. And then they have a bunch of just side books that are kind of like ups and downs, whatever. But the one thing that I've always noticed is they never had an Ahsoka book ever. And so she's only been on either in the shows or the cartoons or in the shows. And I've been trying to find
why? You know why?
Filoni, it's a Filoni thing, right?
Yes, Filoni was like, mine. Like, you will not let her go. He would not let her be in anything else. 100%.
Makes sense.
Man, it makes sense. I mean, honestly, as I said, even with what was the one where it's gonna be a show? It was announced Star Wars Day, where it's explaining how the New Republic and how the first was it, the First Order ended up rising to power or whatever. And I was like, well, that's Filoni cleaning up again, trying to clean up the continuity, clean up the
man is just once again he's adept at filling in those gaps.
Filoni is the best thing to happen to Star Wars, hands down.
Amen.
Because the sequel series, once again, if you didn't know, how can Star Wars continuity get mucked up even more? Well, J.J. Abrams and Rian Johnson, they did their best to muck it up even more because and Filoni is now once again going to come in and be like, okay, we're going to clean this up. We're going to make sense of this stuff. Why a whole new republic has existed for 30 years, all of a sudden there's this whole not Death Star, this whole, they did create Star Killer, whatever it was called. How did they do this? Like, what? So, and you can see, man, the Mandalorian is Jon Favreau is also cleaning it up. He's trying to lay the seeds for how that could happen in such a way. But I think that's where what a lot of these shows that are still set in this Skywalker era, which is, as much as I hate it, I'll give the people who are doing it a little credit in that they're trying to clean up and make sense of this very wide and very convoluted and somewhat inconsistent mythology that we all love.
Yeah, and I remember when I was watching Clone Wars before they did the last season, and I finished it, and then right after Clone Wars finished, I watched the Revenge of the Sith?
Mm-hmm.
And then after watching all that Clone Wars and then watching Revenge of the Sith, it actually made it better. Because now I got context of all the crap that was happening at the beginning of that movie, where it's like, oh, Skywalker's been fighting them for a hell of long. So it makes sense that he's that powerful, that there was no leap of logic where like Clone Wars filled all that gaps in, and you're like, okay, cool. And then when you watch Revenge of the Sith, you're like, okay, now this fits as an actual narrative.
Yeah, because the thing that I said, the problem with those movies is that after the first one, the actions of the Jedi make absolutely no sense. Like, where's the investigation into the other Sith Lord that into Darth that was with Darth Vader? You guys said it yourself. There's always two. A master and apprentice. Well, we do the master or the apprentice. Why aren't they going on an investigation? Why are they playing security for Sith? So, like, the Clone Wars shows that effort to find Sidious, to find out who is behind. They know that the Dark Lord of the Sith is behind the Separatists, but they don't have all the pieces, and by the time they figure it out, it's way too late. But that doesn't connect between those three movies. Now, granted, and this isn't popular, I still like those movies better than the sequels, but the sequel trilogy. But those things, Filoni is good at reconnecting those dots to make you appreciate that more. And I think maybe he can do that for the sequel trilogy as well. I mean, I don't know how you get past making Rey Palpatine's granddaughter. I mean, that's just one of those things that
that makes things a lot more messy.
You tried, but that's just like, come on, man. And then they double down on the whole incest stuff. With it was bad enough with Luke and Leia. Now you got Rey and Kylo confused about what they are and who they are. It's just that's the A. That's what that nostalgia chasing gets you, JJ. You chase the sound so much that you fell trapped to it.
The upside is there's a ton of connected Star Wars crap coming out. Whether or not it's going to be good, obviously, for me, seeing there's the Acolyte with oh my God, what's the actress's name again? Amanda Stenberg.
What is it? Remind me what the Acolyte is again.
Basically from the POV of the Sith. I think Amanda Stenberg is an apprentice coming up. I might be wrong about that, but she's basically either budding Sith Lord or she's an actual Sith Lord, and you follow her exploits.
Okay,
And
it looked interesting.
And it's in the Bay Knight era, so it's gonna be probably Ruler 2.
Post Bane era.
Yeah, post Bane. Well, that's why I meant Bay Knight, the Bay Knight Sith.
You mean the Ruler 2?
Yeah,
sorry.
that's the name for the Ruler 2, the Bay Knight.
Right, my bad.
But so that's the one I'm looking forward to. Why? Because it's set a couple 100,000 years before the Skywalkers are even.
And in one of the most important notes is it's not in Tatooine. It's in a galaxy. A galaxy far away.
Far away from there. So there's a show called Skeleton Crew, which I think is going to be following a skeleton crew on a Star Destroyer. I think it is. You can correct me if I'm wrong.
It's like lower deck Star Wars.
Yeah. Pass.
I'll give them all a shot, but I'm not enthused about that.
Yeah, Josh, you will give them all a shot.
I am the continuity whore. I need to see it all, or at least I need to try it all. Dave Filoni's getting a film, well overdue and well deserved.
And what's the topic of this film? This is the first Jedi, right? Is that the one?
Yes. Sorry, it is the first ever Jedi Knight. Yes.
Yeah.
I can't.
So not interested, but I could see it possibly being good.
Filoni will pimp
not
it.
interested in that.
He'll pimp it. I'm not interested in it either, oddly. But it's Filoni, so I'll get yes.
Yeah, I'll give it a shot. I think now here we go. This is film versus TV, so we'll see what happens there.
Translate.
If his powers translate.
But played some good faith, so I'll give it a shot.
Yes.
Yeah. I'm kind of in the same vein. I'm like, I don't really know. Like, I don't know if I care about the first Jedi. Don't really, honestly.
So there's two rumors floating around about what it's going to be about. I thought I saw one that said it was going to be about the first Jedi, but what I'm looking at here says Dave Filoni to direct new Star Wars movie taking place after the events of Return of the Jedi. So could be that.
I'm less interested now.
Yeah, I'm way less interested in that. 100%.
Because in the sky, we're even closer to the Skywalker. So that one I was a little more curious, at least.
Yeah.
About
First Jedi as like the first Jedi ever has some potential.
Yeah, but not.
And then of course the Daisy Ridley flick. I'm blown away that she's coming back for this at all. But yeah, so
and that's what 10, 15 years after Rise of Skywalker or what?
Yes.
Yeah, something like that.
But yeah, and all these stuff they announced.
She's basically rebuilding the Jedi Order.
Yeah, all the stuff they announced, I'm not interested, and partially because they're cherry picking from the Legends canon, and it's obviously clear that they're doing that, and they're using what they want in the framework instead of like what the original stories were, and that's why it's turning out so bad. Like,
which, as a person who was heavily steeped in the lore of the legacy canon, I gotta say it's insulting. I'm like, well, then what'd you kill it for? It was already out there.
Like, you talking about the new Jedi Academy? Like, that was in the books, man, and they made it way better.
Like, you could have just left it. I mean, you had a ton of inconsistencies. So what? Like, I guarantee you, if you poke around a little bit, what we see now has, I mean, just the 3 sequel movies alone have enough inconsistencies in them to, like, you could do a documentary on it. Like,
Or they added stuff that didn't make sense. Like, like when, as much as I like Leia, when she used the Force to survive being in the vacuum, like, nah, man.
No. When did she get Dragon Ball Z like breathing ability?
Well, I could buy that Luke train her. She's force sensitive. I could buy that, but if she
But the vacuum of
her,
space, my guy.
yeah, like the vacuum of space. I mean, she's not. She's so busy trying to gasp for catch that last shred of air that how can she focus on using the force? Like it was so stupid. But
It's the 80s. We don't care about details like that.
He says the 80s.
Uh,
Yeah, no, you're right. No.
this was what 2000? What when was Last Jedi?
Well,
4 years
forgot
ago?
on purpose.
Yeah. But anyway, all that to say, Ahsoka, going back to the trailer, Ahsoka looks pretty good. Even though, again, all those things it said, I think it has a lot of potential because it throws a monkey wrench into the overarching storytelling.
Yep.
There's some interest in where they could go with that, and it's not just all, the thing is, it still falls back to the trappings of the Galactic Empire and all that stuff, but it puts the focus on more on different interesting characters. That's not the same as the people we've seen, or that someone related to the Skywalker or the Skywalker story. Again, even though Ahsoka is very much related to that story.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, James Mangold getting one of those movies is a pretty big deal. I'd
Yeah.
say. He's not a garbage director at all. So the story's he's probably gonna write it, if not co-write it himself. So in all likelihood, that will be at least reasonably tight, and it won't be a dumb story. It should fit neatly into the canon. I think everything that's supposed to happen with the James Mangold story is what's going to happen. But yeah, I think that that's a lot. That's a lot to look forward to. A lot to at least speculate over, if not look forward. I think the Filoni thing and the James Mangold thing are probably the two most like the lowest hanging fruit. In other words, to say, like, they probably are the most likely successful storytellers of the bunch.
Mm.
So I'm confident at least those two projects.
Yeah, I agree. I'm just leaving the galaxy far, far away, far, far behind until they decide to step away from that love affair with the Skywalkers. It's like they just can't quit it. I mean, they just cannot quit the Skywalkers. Even Mando had to get invaded by Luke, and and it wasn't a very good rendition of Luke. It was the sequence was fine. But the CG of making of Luke creating young post few years after Return of Jedi Luke was not worth the effort.
Yeah, they could have just used Ezra. They could have used another actor. I don't know. There's so many different things they could have done. But either way, I think I'm with you. I think I actually have some. I'm actually very, very hopeful for Ahsoka. I think it's be kind of a cool thing. It's always been a cool character. One of the best things to come out of Clone Wars, and so I hope they really do something, do it some service.
I mean, and who is it that's directing the Daisy Ridley joint? Oh,
Yango, isn't it? No,
no. Charmin Obaid Chinoy. It was a documentary director. Come on. I mean, on the one hand, I hate. You know what? I take that back, because she very well may be capable. Who the hell knows? But it, to me, that's a risky maneuver. I'll be happy to eat my words, and I hope that she nails it. I hope she knocks it out of the park. I hope that she has more than just documentary chops. She's an excellent documentarian. I'm just like, so somebody who maybe has action or sci-fi chops, perhaps, or someone who has dramatic storytelling chops who can inject, some sense into a narrative. I'm not saying that she can't do that, and I'll be happy to eat my words and come back on this very same pod and be like, I was totally wrong, and I'm happy I was, because I will be.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, and it's more about, for me, it's more that just none of what they announced in terms of story sounds at all interesting. Like, all of it sounds just like something that could be like a one-off TV limited event, or like something that could be a comic book series or something. I don't know. But whether that sounds at all interesting, that's just my take on it. Ahsoka's the only one that I'm looking forward to in the Acolyte, because it's not set in Skywalker land.
Let me ask this question. I think it was in the Ahsoka trailer. Did I not see a Rogue One Vader sequence when it looked like he was fighting the soldiers?
Oh, in the hallway.
Yeah, was I tripping or like?
It looked like it.
Okay, I didn't know what the context was. That
It might have been blocked a similar way. I don't know.
Yeah, it's probably just because they nowadays, again, when some works, now everybody wants to do it. They did it once in Mando with Luke, and I wouldn't be surprised if they keep doing it over and over again. It's like the Daredevil. It's like the no, give Daredevil that credit. It's like the old school fight scene sequence, long take or whatever, that then Daredevil adapted, and then everybody else started adapting. So,
also like to point out that Ahsoka has Ray Stevenson of Punisher fame. Just want to throw that out there.
The Punisher, the cinematic
Punisher we acknowledge.
Yeah,
as well.
No, not the only one we acknowledge.
The only one I acknowledge. Myself
is acknowledgement.
Marathon is dope.
But
yeah.
Hey, and shout out to my cheesy Dolph Lundgren. We're not going to be disrespecting Dolph Lundgren.
I knew this was gonna happen. I had to drop his name in because he's a major. He's one of the villains.
Pro so we can walk. Is that it?
Yes,
that's fair.
Yeah. Our man Ray Stevenson's in it as a former Jedi ally of Thrawn, so that's be kind of interesting.
Yeah, that should be.
And he has a Padawan / apprentice too. That's basically going to be one of the main bad.
I'm here for that,
and that's good too because he's more being presented as a dark Jedi as opposed to a Sith Lord.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and I think that's kind of cool because that further expands the kind of like gray Jedi area.
Yes.
And
there is a different people,
which is really good to manage
all of those things. There's a difference between gray and dark Jedi, and there's a difference between a dark Jedi and a Sith Lord. Like there are differences between all those things. Unfortunately, a lot of the live action and animated stuff doesn't die.
I know it completely.
Yeah, the comics have been kind of like touching on it of lately, which is good. But yeah, you're right. So this will be a good kind of like introduction to that for people that don't know what that means or how that is. Like people that are like Force sensitive, but aren't a Sith and aren't necessarily a Jedi.
And also, it's not. I think Rian Johnson tried to walk it. I don't remember which one was trying to make it connected to the parents, or it's got to be, that was the whole thing with Rey, is that if she had turned out to be somebody random, it would have been better than connecting her to someone who's a well-known, a Force user that's so powerful that, it permeates the genes. Like, no, that's not how. Because that was the case, then Shmi Skywalker would have been a Jedi. It's
true.
It's not based on genealogy. It's something that's arcane and can't put your finger on it. Why the Force is stronger in one person other than the next? It was like that for a while until the midi-chlorians came into play, and then
here we go.
Rian Johnson is a war criminal for that type of dialogue and context.
And for those of you who do not remember, Shmi Skywalker is Anakin's mommy.
Yes.
Yeah. So moving on. Last up, they dropped the Spider-Verse trailer. It's got a lot of hype. The movie was very near, dear, and beloved. The trailer looks really interesting. They're having a lot of fun with their whole Spider-Verse type situation. Same animation team's back for it, so that's awesome.
Same producers?
Same producers, I believe, as well.
Chris Lord and Phil Miller, or Phil...
Yep.
Philip Lord and Chris Miller, whatever.
Phil Lord and Chris.
Yeah. So everybody's back. All the voice actors are back. We even got the same critiques. Oh, they made his skin lighter. Oh, his hair doesn't look as froey as it used to be, and blah blah. Like,
who's saying that stuff?
Oh man, it's
for people.
Yeah.
Oh,
but
yeah, when they talk, it's like a chime in the wind. I hear it, but it just makes a faint sound.
Yeah.
I can't make it.
Hey, what is it from Peanuts? Wah, 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 wah.
Yeah, that's all I hear. Look at it, nothing's even worse.
But it actually looks really, really dope. I like the kind of mistake that they're going. Using that was the other thing. Like, oh, why the two Latinos got to be fighting against each other? I'm like, Jesus, people, can we just watch the film and enjoy it?
Wait, who's the
the bad is
Spider-Man 2099.
Yeah, Spider-Man 20.
Oh,
yeah, Miguel O'Hara.
Oscar Isaac is voicing him.
Yep.
See, that's cool. I don't mind that. Oscar Isaac is the beast. He's one of those nerd kings now. Like,
yeah, man. Too. I like it.
Yeah, I don't mind Oscar Isaac in the role. I hate those type of villains though. Only the alternate version of the protagonist.
Yeah.
Sometimes it works, and this could be one of those situations where it works, but a lot of times it's just it feels so cheap.
I was about to say that, cheap. Yeah.
Yeah.
I forgot, I was watching something that did that. Oh, that was why that was the thing that made me stop watching The Flash, was that season where Barry was Savitar or whatever.
Yeah, exactly. That was,
that's right.
I'm not into
and this every season was #Barry's fault. It was Barry, but a slight variation of like every single season.
You were the only person who used that hashtag, sir.
Yep.
And I think in there it's where I agree with Cam on the multiverse as a plot device or as a narrative device, leitmotif, is that when they start doing things like that, all of the alternate is the main villain or whatever. It's like it only works in certain situations, like very specific storytelling. Like Fringe had worked with the alternate Walter Bishop because that was very idiosyncratic to that mythology, that story. But if it's just like, oh, we know there's all these multiple Spider-Mans and this one is all of a sudden doing bad and then Spider-Man Prime has to stop him. Nah. The superhero stuff, it just comes off as lazy.
Very. And it was crazy because even in the books, I was very against it when it first came out, even though the first couple of books, they actually wrapped it up to be pretty decent and interesting to to show it. But
I was kind of silly with it in the books for a while.
Yeah, and then they like the core story was good, and after that it's been kind of, and then I think slots back to kind of clean up and kind of in the Spider-Verse per se.
Mm-hmm.
But
the different variants of Spider-Man, they got a little silly and ridiculous with it at one point. With the number of different incarnations, like they just threw every idea they had against the wall. It sounds like.
Wait, what is this? Spider Pig too?
Yeah, dude. It got to the point where, because they did a whole thing called Spider Personas in the books, where people would draw their own self as a spider and you just submit it, and then the ones that were cool, we'll put them in the books, kind of a thing. So one half.
What was the multiverse storyline again?
The multiverse story arc was different. That one was more just like, somebody was trying to kill Peter Parker's in different multiverses, and
right.
so they had so the other spiders kind of gathered around to basically protect him, blah 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 blah. But they couldn't tell him because it's Peter Parker, because he fucks up all the time. And so that was the part that was kind of cool, because like
he's considered Spider-Man Prime.
Yeah, exactly. So like, and he's like, wait, why don't you guys just tell me? They're like, dude, you're Peter Parker. We know you're gonna fuck it up, so we had to figure it out on our own first, and then come to you. So like the story of it was actually pretty solid. And then after they concluded that arc, it just then it just went to, now we have Spider this and Spider that and
Spider Gwen and Silk Spider and
yeah. So. And some of those characters actually turned out to be kind of cool. Some of them were kind of meh. And then now what they did, which is smart on a marketing wise, is, all those personas that got created in the comics in the last whatever years, they threw them all in. So like every character you see that's in the movie, they've already been created somehow,
Been in the books.
either the
Right.
books or marketing, whatever, or Ballerina Spider and this Spider and all this other random shit.
Wait, do we have alternate universe Marissa Tomei? Just saying, just asking.
I mean, that's a valid question, sir. I concur with that assessment. They're gonna be able to sell hella toys, my man.
Oh yeah, totally.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Especially
the
Spider-Man.
pajamas. They're gonna monetize the pajamas off of this thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the thing. I was like, while watching the trailer, I was like, oh, this is cool. That's like that's the second thing I thought. I was like, oh, marketing this, marketing that, marketing that. And
Yeah.
I'm also curious to see.
That's gonna be a toy. That's gonna be a toy. That's gonna be a toy.
Yeah, I'm also curious to see how much he's actually going to be in Brooklyn and how much he's going to be in the verse, and they know because in the first movie, his parents are a very integral part of the whole story, and him as his,
as we know, Brooklyn is the center of the universe. My goodness,
and Cord, his character. Now he's going to be on his own, and so it's going to be kind of interesting how they do that, and I'm curious to see how they flesh out the whole Spider-Gwen thing too. So
And
a lot of.
Who's the actress playing Spider-Gwen?
Haley Stanfield.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, that's right. She was she's in she's just Marvel all over, huh? She
was a Disney kid, I think, if I'm not mistaken. I think she was a Disney kid.
She was already in the ecosystem, I believe.
Yeah, I mean, it makes sense. She's been around. The first thing I saw her in was that True Grit.
Oh, that's right. I think that might be her first one. But...
Yeah, I think so.
Right.
Which was a remake of a John Wayne.
Western. Yeah.
Yes. I mean, yeah, I think that. Yeah, that was her.
I think it's gonna be good. I have no. As a matter of fact, I love the trailer. The trailer is one of the best cut animation trailers I've seen in a very long time.
It was a little long, but it was still good, well cut together. It was long though. It didn't need to be 2 minutes and 30 or whatever it was.
I will say Into the Spider-Verse is probably my favorite Spider-Man rendition of live action and animation.
Yeah.
Like I'm not a big fan of the movies. Like they're just okay to me. But the Into the Spider-Verse was really, the first one was done really well. So I was like, this might be my favorite Spider-Man.
And it's highly rewatchable too. That's the thing.
Yeah.
Like you could so Into the Spider-Verse, it's really fun. Like it's a fun rewatchable film. And I'm curious to see how they can translate this onto the second.
I ain't not enough. I've never rewatched it.
I watched it a couple times. I really enjoyed it. Like
I agree that it's a rewatchable movie, but I can agree because I haven't rewatched it, so we'll see. I'll try to I'll rewatch it and then I'll answer the question.
Yeah, I think you'll agree. I know.
I believe I'll agree.
I would say I'm pretty well versed in what you rewatch and what you don't, and I would say this probably will fall in line with the things that you like to rewatch.
Well, I think that will definitely be true. I don't know. For some reason, I haven't. I don't know why.
I mean, they snuck in a test audience for the first one that last year of New York Comic Con before lockdown. And so they showed whatever they had finished of the film at was it Hammerstein? Wherever it was off site from the main body of Comic Con. And so they would all the exterior Marvel properties got debuted. So they did third season of Daredevil, second season of Punisher, and then they saved Into the Spider-Verse for last. And so out of the blue, I mean, they showed snippets of Punisher and snippets of Daredevil, so we thought we were going to see snippets of Into the Spider-Verse. They were like, how would you like to see what we finished? And of course the audience was like, well, yeah. And they were like, cool, because we finished about half of it. We were like, what? So we got to see the first half up to where Fat Peter pops up, and pops up in the cemetery, finds Miles. That's where it wound up stopping, and it got people ripped out of their seats. at the end of that thing. So, I mean, the realism of the movie, I think, the authenticity of the movie, aside from all the action, aside from adapting Miles pretty much perfectly from the books, I think the authenticity of like little things like he wore Jordans, and of course there was a marketing tie-in where they released the Miles Morales Jordans, and then just him being a Latino kid in Brooklyn, a black Latino kid in Brooklyn at that, which brings its own flavor of things. And I mean, in the trailer they seem to be carrying that through, because I remember all my Hispanic friends who got B's in Spanish, they got the same talking to that he got in the trailer.
Yeah, that was
that was good.
That was hilarious.
Because I being in New York during the time I was in New York, I learned a lot about that from friend. But so I thought that was a nice little touch. With the mother, with them freaking out over that.
Yeah. Fun fact: Haley Steinfeld got a Oscar nomination for her role in True Grit.
I knew that.
I did know that. Yes.
Wow.
I knew, because it was a big deal. Because
it was that good.
She was young too, right? Like,
well, they were talking about because the last actress to get actually nominated and win, I think, for as a child was Anna Paquin. I believe it was Anna Paquin. And this was years before she was even rolled as
that was
they already had won an Oscar already. But it was a supporting role Oscar, but it was a big deal. She was a kid.
And then Daniel Kaluuya is going to be Spider-Punk, which will everyone's going to love that. So this is one of those movies where like they're gonna have a lot of fun.
Full of cameos, bro.
Yeah, they're gonna. It's just we have a lot of fun. They're probably gonna do some spinoffs, but yeah,
it's gonna be fun. That's even what I saw when as I watched the trailer. Like, it's just a fun trailer.
Yep.
So
exactly. All right, so let's wrap with some final words. Josh, you got some?
I did. What was it? Come back to me.
Oh, fans. I think that's what it was.
Fans?
The fans.
The fans
about Mando and Lizzo.
Oh, yeah. Oh, right. Yes. Thank you for reminding me. So, I don't know. If you're up on Mandalorian, you saw Jack Black and Lizzo and Christopher Lloyd and like, I don't know, like 5,000 other people had cameos or, more than cameos in this week's Mandalorian.
They had 4 roles. Yeah.
There were a bunch of people in this thing.
Yeah.
And, people, of course, single out the black woman for having no acting chops and she looked terrible and this, that, and the other. And I'm like, I believe this is her first acting role. Give her an effing break, man. Like, I mean, I'm not a huge Lizzo fan, but like, let her rock, man. Like, it's her first acting gig, I think, like, and then, what I hope people feel bad because, reading up on her reaction, she was interviewed on Vanity Fair and sent out a tweet and dropped a tweet about how she cried the entire day when she found out that she got cast, not because she's that big a Star Wars fan necessarily, but she was raised on Star Wars by her dad, who's no longer with us. I'm just like, see, you like fans, man. Fans just gotta chill, man. Like, it's not necessary to just jump on everything and critique everything and just be this harsh. Well, Lizzo she shouldn't have taken the gig if she didn't know how to act. And shut up. Just come on, let her live. Let the kid live, man. Like, she's living out a dream for her dad, who's not here anymore. Like, it doesn't. I mean, did she stink it up? No. Was she an Oscar award-winning actress on this? No, also. But she didn't have to be. Like, and she had fun with it. Just let her live, man. Just, as Star Wars fans, I gotta tell you, are becoming, if they aren't already, the worst fans in all of science fiction. Like
They did add that title. What are you talking about? There's probably the only worst fandom is
no word.
nope.
I mean, that's
I don't
saying
Yeah.
you are saying something if you're the worst fans in all of fandom. Like, there's a lot of fans that are like, there's a lot of terrible X-Men fans, there's a lot of terrible Spidey fans. You know, there's some doozies out there. There's some winners. I've seen and heard some conversations that would just defy all logic. But Star Wars fans just by leaps and bounds just derail things and just talk out of their ass about things that they have no business talking about, and just like, you know, just let things rock, man. Just, you know, the friend of the pod, Eric Norman, likes to constantly say, and even remind me when I step out of line, you know, yo, just wait and see. Like, you know, yes, you have your opinion about it. Yes, you have your thoughts on it. Yes, you know, may have whatever critique you may have about somebody being cast in a role or somebody that, you know, set as a director. Just wait and see. Let them rock. Let them step into it and see what happens. You never know what gold you might get from unexpected, you know, from unexpected castings or unexpected hires. Like, just, you know, just wait and see. And I'd be willing to wager that we're going to come back years from now when she's had like her 10th acting gig and has blown something out of the water. And this conversation is going to be something that we remind people of. Like, yo, remember when y'all talk about that shit about Lizzo and how she couldn't act, and look at her now. Like, let her develop. Let her become. Let her get better at it. Let her take some acting lessons. Let her look at this thing and be like, ooh, you know what? I could do better than that. Let her get better.
Yep.
That's the final word.
Yep. Let her live. Let her live. Yeah, D, what you got?
Well, after that, I don't know what more to say. Let's do a break, people. I mean, what do you want to do? I was talking to you guys about this. We saw there was that David Lynch quote, and I think the only reason I'm making this my final word because it's a thing that more people should practice. So my knee-jerk reaction to that tweet was that he, you know, and for those of you who don't know, David Lynch basically was asked in an interview, had he seen Denis Villeneuve version of Dune, or if he planned on watching the second one. He said, no, don't ask me about that. I haven't seen it, don't plan on seeing it. And I think
for those who don't know,
David Lynch is a filmmaker, and he, for this purpose of this talk, he made the original live action adaptation of Frank Herbert's novel. So the Dune from 1984, I believe you're right on. The Dune from 1984 was his film. But I, you know, when I saw it, I had that knee-jerk reaction. Oh man, he's hating on the film, hasn't seen it, why even comment on it? But then I looked at what he said, and there's nothing in his statement that actually says anything negative or disparaging towards the 2000 the recent Dune film. So it's good to go back and rethink these things and not react, have a quick reaction to text that's written on social media or things that quotes that people say, because, you know, sometimes there's more to it, sometimes there's less. And in this situation, I don't think David Lynch was trying to be negative towards Dune as much as just shutting down that he don't want to talk about it because he's not interested in it, because he didn't think that was what the interview was about. Definitely.
And it's a neutral statement. You know what I mean? Like, it's not negative. It's not positive. I mean, you could take shade from it because that's generally the context the quote was positioned in, but it was pretty neutral. I haven't seen it, so I don't know, and I don't want to know.
But that's the manipulation of the tech of social media.
Yep.
And you can easily find yourself into that pattern just that easy. You know, I fashion myself as a rather intelligent man, but right then and there, boom, caught me emotionally reacting to one sentence that this man said that he was asked during an interview, which was his right to say that. And again, he didn't say anything negative, but instantly, because of the context, I looked at the responses, and that was exactly what people were going. Oh, I like David Lynch, but this time he said something stupid. And that made me go back and rethink. Because if I'm reacting like all the other human beings, something's wrong. Anyway, that's my final word.
Cam, what's your final word?
I'm gonna keep it short and sweet. I just found out about The Last Ronin, which is the detailed story about the last Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle, which I never knew that was a story.
Dope.
I heard it was really dope. I'm gonna check it out. Very interesting premise, and I'm gonna check it out. Check it out because the original time, the first time I saw or read about the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, it was an adult themed comic. It's not the kiddie cartoon that we got accustomed to. So I'm very interested to see what this is about and how it plays out. That's about it.
That's dope.
Really, really, really good story. Really, really good. I got. Yeah, I got it. Actually, I'll pass it around the horn. Yeah. My final word is be kind to each other, peoples. That's it. Make it simple. Let's go out there, be kind. There's a lot of craziness going on these days. Almost every day, there's something crazy on the news. Turn the news off. Go as Cam says, go touch some grass. Enjoy the weather. We've been finally getting some type of good weather these days in New York. Some days are cold, but yeah, I had a couple hours to kill, and I was walking like literally. It took an hour, just walked around in the park, sat down, read a book, just chilled out. I was like, I almost forgot about this. So yeah,
New York has the best parks for that too. Yeah. Ironically, you think that it wouldn't be that way because of so many people, but as a writer, I could tell you there was no better place that I like to get creativity and inspiration than parks around that city.
Yeah, man. Just I think that I was walking around. I was like, yeah, last weekend. It was just like, yeah, I forgot. It's just, you don't have a bad day. You might just have a bad moment. So just go walk around and touch some grass and enjoy your life. There's a lot of negativity. You probably find some positivity just being out in the outdoors. So that's all.
On your way, introduce a little anarchy. Set the established order.
Exactly. But yeah, that's Blerdlines for today. We'll talk to you guys later. Peace.
Peace. See peace.
Oh, that's great.